Hey, I've heard that some frogs can actually freeze in the winter and not die. Is that true? Like, can they really turn into little ice blocks and still be okay?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of nature's coolest tricks. Imagine you're playing outside on a super cold day and everything's frosty. For most animals, getting frozen solid would be game over, right? But certain frogs, like the wood frog up in places with really harsh winters, have figured out how to hibernate by letting their bodies freeze. Their body temperature drops way below zero, sometimes to like 18 degrees Fahrenheit, which is colder than ice itself. And they can stay that way for months, just chilling under leaves or in the dirt.
Whoa, months? But doesn't freezing kill animals? Like, if a pond freezes over, the fish inside don't make it. Why are frogs different?
Great question. That's a common mix-up. Freezing in a pond traps animals in solid ice with no way to breathe or move, and it bursts their cells like popping water balloons. But these frogs aren't fully frozen like that. About 2/3 of their body turns to ice, but it's a controlled freeze. They produce a special kind of sugar in their blood that acts like antifreeze in a car, keeping the important parts safe. Nope, wait, that's for the next part. Let me back up. The point is, they don't drown or get squished. Their bodies are built for this winter survival show. Scientists have even taken these frozen frogs into labs and watched their skin turn stiff and icy. But inside, they're still alive, waiting for spring.
So they're like frozen statues? Do they move at all, or just sit there?
Pretty much. Picture a frog burrowed in the forest floor, covered in snow. As the cold hits, ice starts forming in their body fluids outside the cells. Think of it like frost on a window pane, not shattering the glass. Their breathing slows to almost nothing, and they use barely any energy. It's called cryobiosis, which just means life in the cold or freezing tolerance. These frogs live in chilly spots like Alaska or Canada where temps drop super low, and this lets them tough it out without digging deep holes or migrating south like some animals do.
That's wild. I thought freezing always meant dead, like if you left a soda outside and it explodes.
Yeah, sodas burst because the water inside expands as it freezes with no give. But frogs? They've evolved this superpower over time. Researchers found that even after being frozen for weeks, they hop right back to life when it warms up. It's not magic, it's biology at work. One scientist told a story about finding a frog under a log in Minnesota, totally iced over. And when he brought it inside, it thawed and started croaking like nothing happened. Pretty amazing, huh?
Yeah, amazing. But if they're freezing like that, won't the ice crystals poke holes in their insides and ruin everything?
Exactly. That's a smart worry. Ice crystals can be like tiny sharp needles that stab into cells and make everything leak out, like a punctured balloon. But these frogs have a clever defense. They make a ton of glucose, which is just a kind of sugar, right in their liver before the cold really sets in. It's like pouring syrup into your drink to keep it from freezing solid. This glucose floods their blood and acts as natural antifreeze, lowering the freezing point so ice doesn't form everywhere at once.
Glucose? Like the sugar in candy? How does that stop the ice from poking holes?
Yep, same stuff. Think about how salt on roads melts ice in winter. Glucose does something similar inside the frog. When the temperature drops, ice starts forming, but only in the spaces between the cells, not inside them. The cells shrink a bit and fill up with this sugary solution, which stays liquid even in the cold. So, the organs, heart, brain, all that, don't get pierced or crushed. It's protecting them like bubble wrap around fragile stuff in a box. Scientists call this extracellular freezing, meaning the ice stays outside the cells, keeping the frog's insides safe and squishy where it counts.
Oh, so the ice is like frosting on a cake, not mixed into the batter? That's kinda cool, but does it hurt the frog while it's happening?
Not really. It all happens slowly as the frog settles into hibernation. No pain, just a deep sleep. Imagine tucking into bed on a chilly night with a warm, hot water bottle. The frog's body is prepping its own cozy shield. Researchers have tested this by freezing frogs in labs and using microscopes to watch. They see the ice crystals growing in the body fluids, but the cells look fine, plump with glucose. One study even showed that after thawing, the frog's organs work just as well as before, no scars or damage.
Wow, so they're like little scientists in their own bodies, making sugar shields. What if too much ice sneaks in anyway?
Good point, but the glucose is super effective. Frogs can handle up to 65% of their body water turning to ice without a problem. It's why they survive where other critters couldn't. Picture a wood frog in the woods. Fall comes, days shorten, and bam! Their body ramps up glucose production triggered by the cooling temps in less daylight. By winter, they're ready, organs intact under that icy exterior. Without this trick, they'd be goners in places like the Arctic tundra.
I get it now. It's not just freezing, it's smart freezing. So with all that going on, what about their heart? Does it keep beating through the ice?
That's the next puzzle. Let's dive into how their ticker handles the deep freeze.
Yeah, the heart thing sounds scary. Like, if my heart stopped, that'd be it, right? Does the frogs really quit beating?
Totally understandable. Our hearts never stop without big trouble, pumping blood non-stop to keep us going. But for these freeze-tolerant frogs, it's different. As the cold creeps in and ice forms outside their cells, their heart starts slowing way down, like a clock winding slower in the chill. It beats maybe once every few minutes at first, saving energy since everything's on pause. Then, when about half the body is frozen, the heart can actually stop altogether. No thump, no flow, for days or even weeks.
Stops? But how does it not die from that? No blood moving means no oxygen or anything.
Sharp catch there. See, in the freeze, the frog doesn't need much oxygen because its body's in this super low energy state, like hitting the pause button on a video game. The glucose we talked about helps too. It keeps the cells from needing as much fuel. Scientists have hooked up frozen wood frogs to heart monitors in labs, and yep, the line goes flat. But it's not like a heart attack, it's a controlled shutdown. No damage builds up because the cold slows all the chemical reactions inside, preserving everything like flash freezing veggies for later.
Whoa, so it's like the frog's heart is taking a long nap? Does it ever get too cold and not wake up?
Nap's a great way to put it. Most of the time, no. Their bodies are tuned for this. Imagine a bear hibernating. Its heart slows a lot, but the frog takes it further. One researcher in Alaska thawed out a frog whose heart had been stopped for over a month, and within hours of warming, it kicked back in, beating strong again. The restart happens as the ice melts and blood starts flowing, carrying oxygen to jumpstart the muscles. It's all reversible. No scars on the heart tissue thanks to that protective freeze.
That's reassuring. I guess if it stopped forever, we wouldn't see them hopping around in summer. But what makes it start up again exactly?
You're piecing it together nicely. The thawing brings fluids back to life, and the heart cells are built tough. They depolarize, like a battery recharging, and rhythm returns naturally. Studies show the frog's blood even thickens during the freeze to protect against clots when it restarts. It's why these frogs bounce back so quick. One experiment had a frozen frog croaking and trying to move just minutes after its heart revived. Pretty resilient little guys.
Resilient, yeah. So no permanent stop, just a winter break for the heart. Kind of makes me think about how they figure out the freeze is over.
Exactly. And that's where it gets even more intriguing. What cues pull them out of that icy slumber?
Cues? Like, do they have an internal alarm clock or something that says, hey, winter's over, time to thaw?
Kind of, but it's more about the world around them changing. As spring rolls in, the ground starts warming up from the sun's rays peeking through longer days. That gentle heat? Nothing drastic, just a slow climb from freezing to maybe 40 or 50 degrees Fahrenheit begins melting the ice crystals in their bodies. It's like ice cream softening on a warm counter. It doesn't all vanish at once, but bit by bit, starting from the outside in.
So the sun does the heavy lifting. But what if it warms too fast? Wouldn't that shock them like jumping into hot water?
Smart thinking. A sudden thaw could be rough, messing up the blood flow or leaving watery messes inside. But nature's got it timed just right. Thawing happens gradually over hours or days, giving the frog's body time to adjust. Remember that glucose sugar from before? It plays a starring role here too. As the ice melts, the sugary solution in the cells helps draw water back in smoothly, rehydrating everything without bursting the cell walls. It's like slowly adding milk to a thick shake, blending it back to normal consistency. The frog's body fluids start circulating again, carrying nutrients and oxygen to wake up the tissues.
Rehydrating. So their insides go from crunchy ice to squishy frog again. Does the heart kick in right away when that happens?
Yep, spot on. Once the ice retreats, the heart muscle, which was paused, senses the warming and the returning fluids. It twitches a bit, then pumps stronger, like an engine sputtering to life after a cold morning. Breathing picks up too, Lungs expand as the frog gulps in fresh air. Scientists in labs mimic this by putting frozen frogs in warm chambers, and they've seen the whole revival. Eyes blink, legs twitch, and soon enough, the frog's hopping around looking for bugs. No leftover ice jams or anything. The glucose even prevents weird crystal bits from sticking around and causing trouble.
That's so neat. I was worried spring warmth might not be enough on its own. Like if the frog stayed stuck in freeze mode forever.
Totally valid concern. Some animals do struggle with that. But for these frogs, it's a perfect combo. The external warmth triggers the internal cleanup. The melted water mixes with the blood, flushing out any waste from the long sleep, and enzymes in their cells rev up to repair tiny tweaks. One cool experiment involved thawing frogs under controlled lights to simulate spring, and they revived 100% of the time, even after extreme freezes. It's why you'll spot them croaking by ponds in early spring, full of energy, as if winter was just a quick nap.
Okay, so everything just restarts naturally. But why go through all this? I mean, why not just move to warmer spots like birds do?
The big picture. It's all about thriving where they are. These frogs evolved this freezing superpower because their homes are in super cold places, like the forests and tundras of North America, where winters are brutal and foods scarce. Without it, they'd die off or have to compete with everyone else migrating south. But by freezing in place, they save energy. No need to eat or move. And when spring hits, they're right there, first in line for the new bugs and plants popping up. It's like having the best seat in the house for summer parties. This adaptation lets their species stick around in harsh spots, passing on the genes to baby frogs. Over millions of years, natural selection picked the survivors who could handle the ice, turning a deadly season into just another part of life.
Makes sense now. So this whole freeze-thaw thing is their secret to owning the cold, huh? No wonder they're still around in those icy wilds.
Exactly, you've got it. It's a reminder of how clever nature is, turning what would kill most into a survival win. These little frogs show us that with the right tricks, even the toughest winters can't stop you.